So I have them before bed now, calling out things that have already happened to them in the future. So I'm doing slight work that I learned to upgrade with my kids. And my wife is totally on board with it. She loves what I'm doing with them. It's just, I'm taking the coaching and trying bringing it down so they can understand it. And now if they go to bed and I didn't ask them to do it, they said, Dad, we're not done with bedtime yet, which is the coolest thing.
You have wondered what you would be able to do if you were the ultimate version of you, right? You would then have an easy time creating what you want, and yes, effortlessly enjoying life too. Now, you may know this already, the influence you have over your reality is far beyond what you've been told. Soon, you realize that your outer world is merely a mirror of your inner world, and we're here to connect the dots for you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to GODMODE.
Welcome back to God Mode, everyone. This week, we have a very special guest. He is a good friend of mine. I've gotten to know this man for the past 14, 15 months very well. Someone who I've come to respect and honor, because when clients go all in with us, there's always a bit of a challenge, a push and pull that we push back on them with them right away. Now, a lot of our clients do invest good amount of money with us, and that's a representation sign. There's also the energy and the dedication of how much they're willing to let go of their own programs and push themselves beyond the boundaries of what they didn't know was possible. And I would say this gentleman that you're going to get to know over the next 45, 60 minutes is a perfect representation of that, because he was a guy who would reach out to me probably 2-3 times a week with curiosity. Like, hey, Michael, how can I do this better? I'm learning, I'm watching this program, I'm listening to this. And I started to just really, appreciate that, because I was like, all right, this is a guy who's super curious about his own personal growth. So he has a beautiful story to tell, and he's been able to manifest from the feminine energy, the imagination, along with the masculine energy of willpower over the past 15 months, something beautiful within his business, in his personal life as well. Many new accomplishments have been made. So without further ado, Richard Kosinski, welcome to GODMODE, my friend.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
Yes. And I do mean that. Genuine appreciation for when you reached out, because, like I said, I was kind of similar. When I got to know William, got to know Upgrade, I was like, all right, there's some good stuff here, right? There's some content here that I really like. And you were the same way. You were like, hey, man, how do I get better at this? Like, what should I be listening to? What should I be studying? And what was it that you would say, in your opinion, was that? And then we'll go. I want to tell you, have you tell listeners your story as well. But what would you say is the thing that made you feel like so attracted to Upgrade, and why you wanted to learn all the skills that you could?
Well, to me, I was always curious about what was possible and what any one individual can create. And then when I first got introduced to the Upgrade platform, it was, wow, I could actually go away and sit in a room with like-minded folks to manifest whatever one needs to manifest and create whatever one needs to want to create. But it wasn't just the live events and the couple of days in the room together. It was about the content that you all had that I was able to learn and teach myself at the pace that I wanted to. And as you know, I became a junkie pretty quickly once I got into the content.
Hmm.
And like I shared with you in the past, it was once I got into the content, I couldn't get out of the content. It was every day, every morning. I set an hour a day at 5 a.m. to spend on the Upgrade content to really, really immerse myself in it.
Yes, that's what's up, man. I had such a genuine appreciation for that, because I was seeing a little bit of like, oh, I used to be like that too. This guy's just asking the same questions that I want to do. So let's give the listeners a big picture of who Richard is, where you come from. I know we're both Northeast guys, although I'm over from the Boston area, you're over in the New Jersey, New York area. So let's give the listeners a little backstory of who you are, what you do for your business, and some more details.
Yeah, so born and raised in Queens, New York, single mom, had one sibling, have an older brother, fell in love, got married, lived in Manhattan for 10 years with my wife until we had our second child, moved out to New Jersey. Now I have three awesome boys, an amazing wife. My boys are 4, 9, and 12. Our house is full of testosterone and activity, but it's an awesome place to be. And
That's
then as for
awesome.
the business front, I started a business with my partner in 2004, an employee benefit consulting firm. We just actually started the business because we thought we went into it just trying to help people and help employers find a better way to reduce their healthcare costs and attract, retain talent. And it just morphed into something beyond our wildest dreams. And it's been one hell of a ride since 2004 till today. And
Nice.
we
So almost
obviously recently just sold the business as of October 2nd.
no, October 2nd. Congratulations on that. So almost 20 years and you and your partner had the business. You're moving on, but not moving on right away. Would you mind telling the listeners, you said you just sold it? And that was one of the reasons you reached out to William and I about a month ago, because one of the goals that you had came to us with, that you wanted to sell it within a certain time frame and for a certain dollar amount. And we don't need to dive into those things, but I want to tell the listeners about how powerful this creation, manifestation, and then willpower combination is.
Yeah, what I could say is when, there was some pre-work going into the first live event I attended. And what I came into that event with was a clear picture of the dollar amount that I was looking to create at the sale of the business, which was obviously a very large amount. And the cool thing about what happened, it wasn't just about the dollar amount. It was exactly what's going to happen when, from a timeline perspective, and the exact event that was going to be created. And the reason why I reached out to you and William was because just to show gratitude. Because what ended up happening was, in that rather large dollar amount, we were $20,000 off from that number. Literally $20,000 off from that exact number. The timing was exactly when it was supposed to be, and the event was exactly how I envisioned it happening, which kind of blew my mind. And that's why right away I had to reach out to you guys and say thank you.
Well, I think this is what many of our listeners who haven't joined Upgrade yet are curious about when we say installing future memories, right? Because we talk about a lot during our trainings, how do you install a future memory and make it so vividly real to the mind that's naturally just motivated. It's naturally just drawn there and attracted towards something that's already happened. So this was something that you learned to do with us. What would you say was like the eye-opening moments, or whatever? Probably were multiple, right?
Oh, there were multiple, but I would tell you where it all came together was when I would hear yourself and William talk about, your mind being like the computer and the vision like being the projector, and you really have to focus. I had a vision of what it was, but the more I did the trainings, I realized how crystal clear and laser focused that image needs to be. And once it became crystal clear and what it was going to look like, not foggy, not gray, not blurred, but crystal clear and able to focus in, and really almost a really advanced view as to what I was looking at, all of a sudden, where the rubber hit the road for me, it created this feeling for me. And I captured that feeling that anytime I did any meditation, it wasn't just about the visualization, it was about the feeling that I was going to get when that event happened. And now, not only doing it in my business, but I'm obviously doing my personal life, with my health and every other area of my life. But to me, the aha moment was the feeling that was created once I was crystal clear and locked in on that vision.
That's awesome. Let's I know we're going back and forth a little bit, but let's go back to your upbringing, because sometimes, most of the time, we find that the blurriness of finding a future vision comes from unresolved or just programming that we absorbed when we were younger, right? So you said single mom, growing up in the area, and you told me before that there might have been some scarcity. And hey, everyone's doing the best they can with the resources they had available to them at the time, right? So tell us a little about that story and that upbringing.
Yeah, it was again single moms in Queens, and we were lower middle class at best. And my mother raised us that you have to save every penny you have. What you need to do is just go get a steady job that's going to give you a pension and benefits. It was you know, her thought process was, if I drop dead, you need to be able to take care of yourself. And it was just like scarcity, scarcity, scarcity. No, you can't do this. We don't have the money for it. No, you can't spend your money on that. No, we can't buy those pair of sneakers because they cost too much. It was always no, 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 because of, her mindset, which actually through time became my mindset. And I had to break a lot of those scarcity barriers, which weren't easy because I was programmed at an early age for it.
Hmm.
But once those programs were broken, I was able to see things that I never thought were possible. And then also, growing up the area that I grew up in, it wasn't an easy childhood per se. It was a lot of gang related stuff, a lot of fights. If you didn't grow up knowing how to use your hands, you were in a lot of trouble. So it was a really rough neighborhood where you went to school sometimes fearful as what was going to happen, or you were hanging out and another gang rolled up. Whatever it was always something going on where it was fear and scarcity, fear and scarcity, fear and scarcity.
Let's if you're open to it, because this is a podcast that we want to be as raw and real with our listeners, right? Because hey, we're human beings. We all deal with different negative emotions throughout our lives. I grew up in an area in the Boston area, which it was similar to yours, where there were a lot of street fighting, and fear and anxiety was a prevalent negative emotion that was around. So you developed certain different programs about it, and you didn't realize that unconsciously you were using those and how to make money, maybe date, things like that. So, if you wouldn't mind, tell people what it was like when you were transitioning from maybe growing up in that neighborhood and then you're going to the business world, you're a young man, how those programs evolved and the unconscious feelings that were around them.
Oh, it was there was a lot of what I carried forward from that was a lot of anger, and always back against the wall, and you got to continue to fight. Where it helped me was getting the business get off the ground, because it was have to fight, have to fight, have to scrap, going to do whatever it takes to succeed. Just like I had felt I had to do whatever it takes to, you know, protect myself growing up as a kid. But where it hurt me was in my personal relationships, because it was always the anger would come out, the fear would come out. So it started to impact my personal relationships. But once those things were resolved, business took off, my relationships got better, my whole entire world got better because of it.
That's beautiful, man. I would say that, and that's that's the stuff that both William and myself care more about. Like, obviously, we want you to succeed wealth wise, and you're a smart, highly successful guy with or without upgrade, right? um, if we can help anyone along the way with those negative emotions to really make a full transition, like a whole feeling, that's what I love hearing from you. When you first felt that, because I know that you and I can't remember, it was like January or February of this year, actually, or was it last year? Was it this year?
It was
Yeah,
this year.
2000, yeah,
It was this year.
2023. Um, I remember seeing your face when you were able to let go of that feeling of anger. What was that like for you? If you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit for our listeners.
Um, you and I did some individual work, and I'll never forget it, sitting outside the conference room that we were about to go into our session in, and we did timeline therapy, and there was a specific event that I pinpointed that was driving a lot of my fear, anger, and also scarcity. And the work that we did to go back in time to bring me back to when I was a little kid, and bring me back to that specific moment in my life, and release it, and not only release it then, but release all the events that happened after that. It felt like I was floating on air, literally. I felt the weight of the world come off my shoulders in that moment. And since that day, my relationship with my wife is completely off the charts. I'm madly in love with her. We have an amazing relationship. My relationships with my three children have gotten significantly better. My parenting skills have gotten significantly better. My my ability to go out and close deals has gotten significantly better. Every aspect of my life has gotten better since that moment. And that was releasing that event that's been holding me back that whole entire time.
That's such a man. It's such a beautiful thing to hear, and it's crazy how we store memories like that as decisions in the unconscious mind, and then they run as programs for ourselves, and we don't realize how they're filtered in different areas. For yourself, if and, I obviously you and I have known each other for a while now. From the observer standpoint, right now, because here you are, and it's October, excuse me, November 1st of 2023. That was about 9, 10 months ago that we did that exercise. Your business is you just sold your business about a month ago, right? And you said your romantic relationship, family has improved a lot over that time as well. Are there things that you're noticing? Just like more data's flowing to you? Like what would you say is like really the massive benefit that came from all that?
I am way more open to opportunities coming my way and being able to see them because I don't have that block anymore. Where opportunities in the past would have presented themselves, but because of the anger and all the scarcity and things that I was carrying, I wasn't able to see. I just had tunnel vision. Now I have this vision that's completely expanded, and I have more opportunities coming to me from many, many different places where prior to this, I would never been able to see before. But I will tell you, with all of that said, the timeline therapy was that one specific moment. But the one thing that I'm able to do on a daily basis and carry through is the resolution formula. And those who don't know what the resolution formula is, it's just when you're angry, or I don't say angry, when you're feeling anxiety, stress, anger, sadness, where did that come from and how do you resolve it in the moment? So now with the skills that I learned with Upgrade, I'm able to, when I have negative feelings, I'm able to address it in the moment and release them. So it's just been such a cool experience to be able to not only release the main event, but as other feelings come up, be able to pause and release them in the moment. Pause and release them in the moment. So the clarity is always there and I don't miss on the opportunities because I'm focused on this negative emotion.
That's so true. And I'm glad you used the word tunnel vision because that is what myself and many other clients who have used. And it's not to say that you can't use negative emotions as a successful driver, right? Away from motivations can get us to a certain point if we're so, as you said, tunnel vision on the thing that we want. But then we're also deleting, distorting other opportunities that were around us to us as well, and we don't know what we're unconsciously projecting into our romantic relationships, sometimes just stress within our own health, our families. So that tunnel vision on one thing is from that negative emotion that's driving us. However, once you can release that, you're way more open, as you said, to new opportunities. And hey, that's what we want, right? More. Most people who feel limited in their lives is because they don't feel like they have a rich, full enough choices. So if you can enrich your life with full of choices, then I mean, you enrich the quality of your life as well.
To me, the most important part was having that crystal clear vision, like I had said earlier, then the feelings that were created from having that vision, holding on to those feelings and recreating them every time I thought of that vision or did meditation on that vision. But it was all the action steps that I had to clearly define to create the outcome I was trying to create. I think the gap that some people may have is they may have this vision, they may even have the feelings that come along with that vision, but they have to clearly define the action steps that come along with it. And for me, it was living in New York, living in New Jersey, working in New York in Manhattan, the social life that I have at home. It was, social drink here. It was the summertime, going to the beach, having a beer. It was, I personally had to eliminate everything from my life that didn't line up with where I was trying to go. And one of the things that slowed me down was alcohol. So during the process of the buyer selection, I completely shut down alcohol. I did not have a drink for 90 days because again, it was removing anything from my life at the time that was holding me back from obtaining that vision. Still did everything socially, went everywhere, did not miss a beat, but I just chose not to have a drink because that was something that was going to slow me down. And I was clear every day when I woke up what I had to do that day and the outcomes I needed to create that specific day in order to obtain that vision. The action steps are equally as important as having the vision and having the feelings that are attached to that vision.
That's so true. And this is where sometimes, being in the personal mindset, self development growth that upgrade gets classified in sometimes. It's like, listen, we're not the guys who sit around and just say manifest. Okay. We're like, listen, design, test, operate, get feedback. And that test operate is the action steps. So you designed beautifully with us. And then you did sleep tracks and, some other exercises that we taught you along the way. But then you also went out and you put action steps together and you test operated them, right? So then you could get the feedback and you could redesign and keep improving and calibrating and getting more improvement. And I appreciate that you just were transparent and said, hey, something like alcohol that was blurring the vision for me, or give me more clutter or noise while I was really trying to tune into that data, especially during the buyer's process as you're looking to, find the right buyer for your company. It's like, I wanted it to be massively crystal clear now, right? So those are things that I hope our listeners are really taking in serious accountability for. It's like, are you doing things right now that like you say you're going all in for yourself, but you're still kind of doing some old programs that are holding you back in some way? You say you really want a goal, or you say you really want to change your life, but you're maybe still going out for that drink. And hey, this is not about like if a drink's right or wrong, good or bad. It's just like when you say you want to do something, you say you want something so important in your life, like what are you willing to do for it? And I think that what you said, what you were willing to do for it, and then what you did is proven in the results you have now.
Yeah, it's and the more you're able to self-observe, which is important, because when you're in it, it's hard to see what's holding you back. When you are able to step outside of yourself and self-observe to see some of the things that you may not be even aware of that are holding you back, but when you identify them and you remove them, you could create the most amazing things for yourself. It's the environment that you keep. We talk a lot about environment and upgrade, and it's the environment you surround yourself with is important. The friends you keep, the people you work with, the neighborhood you live in, every single part of your environment is critical to achieving your goals and your vision. And you have to be honest with yourself and look at your environment and what fits into where you're trying to go and what doesn't. And what may look like this monumental task to remove that from your environment, I promise you, once it's removed and you see the other side of it, everything is possible that's ahead of you. But you have to be patient and have the skill set to really look at your environment to see what's working and what's not.
So true. You got to be able to be the associated through your own eyes, and then the observer as well, right? Because that flexibility to go back and forth, it's critical, especially when you're trying to accomplish something like you were trying to accomplish, and which you did, which I'm stoked about. So if you could give the 30,000 foot view of the goal that you had set when you came to upgrade with us, or one of the goals, because we all have many goals, yeah. But the memory that you had installed about selling your business at a certain point and then where it is now today.
Um, like I said, I had set a pretty, at the time, it was real stretch goal, be able to get to the specific number we are trying to get to. And when we talked about it in Upgrade, it was like set a goal that would be so, I don't want to use the term outlandish, but extremely difficult to hit where it almost feels like it's impossible. And when we worked together to set that goal or create that vision, it was something that I didn't think was possible. But every time I got blurry on potential of not hitting it, I always went back to something like the resolution formula to kind of get rid of the emotion that I was feeling. But I even got so specific about mentioning clients that we've had in the past that maybe weren't a client today actually coming back. And the craziest thing, haven't heard from this person in about 2.5 years, literally called me up, Rich, where you been? I need your help. You got to come back and help us out. And it was a large revenue number for us. Clearly out of thin air. It was one phone call while I was in the car. Rich, we need you back. Come back. I in that vision, I called out that client specifically. I knew where I was going to be. I knew who I was going to be with. I knew the exact view from the room that was going to look like the day of the close. I knew what was going to happen in the celebration that was going to happen, right? Because when you have to reward the subconscious when it gives you what it is you're looking for. I had the celebration pinpointed. I had everything pinpointed, finally clearly defined, and all of those things happen. But I don't want to discount something that you mentioned, Michael. The sleep track work that Upgrade provides is phenomenal. I spent literally every night, didn't miss a night for a good 6 months of the wealth creation. And there's a point of it. There's a track, there's a sales component to one of the tracks, and I listened to it every night. And I told you some of the work that I did, which was helpful. One night I listened to William. The next night I listened to the exact vision of the sale of the business, recorded myself with meditation music in the background. One night it was William, one night it was myself, one night it was William, one night it was myself. Like I said to you, well, my wife said to me, she goes, "Do you really listen to William every single night before you go to bed?" I said, "No, sometimes I listen to myself, but yes, I fall asleep every single night with earbuds in my ear, listening to a nighttime meditation."
Yeah, those tracks are super valuable. I would say that's the difference between affirmations and installing, right? Because sometimes people will say, "Well, I do affirmations." It's like, okay, but I'm not asking you to do an affirmation. I'm asking you to learn how to install into your unconscious mind. And it's been proven that theta waves and delta waves, the ones when we're sleeping, are very powerful times to do installations. So that's why William created those sleep tracks and why it's so freaking awesome that you were like, hey, I'm going to create one for my own voice. So my own unconscious mind hears me saying the exact same thing. And it's amazing when you had that feeling, like when you called that old client, right? And you could see everything. You knew exactly what was going to happen. I mean, that's what we call deja vu, right? Deja vu is this feeling like it's familiar, like it's happened before. So if you can design it, give it to your unconscious mind, and then we're always in this entanglement process of our neurology with the collective human consciousness. And all of a sudden, that entanglement process, like we feel it. And when it happens, we're like, okay, this is something that could I design this more often in my life? Hey, not going to say you can or can't. I'm just saying that over past 8 years, we've seemed to figure something out. And you have as well, that you may be more in control of the outcomes of your life than you seem to be. Um, Want to ask you now about like your business, right? You got how many, 30, 35 employees with you now?
30.
Awesome. What would you say is like, because they're feedback, they're mirrors for you too. As you developed and you grew as a leader and as an individual, right? What were some of the changes that you saw within your company?
Oh man. Um, it was absolutely phenomenal to see, me and my partner believe it. Everything starts at the top. Our team is going to behave how we behave.
Hmm.
When we became dialed in, the team was dialed in. When the team saw me and my partner taking actions that lined up with where we're trying to go, the team took actions with where we lined up trying to go. And that we do have a philosophy here. We all win and fail together. We all win and lose together. And every single member on the team, from top to bottom, was all in line with where we're trying to go. Every single person. And even post sale now, every single person in this organization is focused on the growth of our company. Every single one, top to bottom. It's what they exude. They love to take care of people. They love to take care of clients. And it's just like, but along with that, they're in growth mode. The company is in growth mode. Stop top to bottom.
And would you say that this new buyer, or not new buyer, the buyer that you chose to be the buyer of your company, feels that, like that representation, the culture, the mindset when they're working with you?
100%. I mean, we've been just about 30 days post close, and we are already engaged at the national level, regional level with other employee benefit firms that decided to join our existing organization. and we're getting multiple phone calls where how we can help and provide support. So they know we are all in, and why we chose them is because it's a growth mindset organization where everybody's trying to go the same path, um, and they're looking for us for support on how to help them grow, but where they're providing us the tools and resources that we need to help us grow too. So it's kind of a perfect marriage. It's a bunch of like-minded individuals all trying to go down the same path. You're talking about 4,000 employees at this point, but all like-minded individuals going down one path. Which, when you have that many people going in the same direction, you can conquer anything.
That's awesome. The spider web is so connected, and to think of how many families that you're helping within your own organization, and then teamed up now with this new buyer, plenty of families across the country. Let's talk about your family with the new skill sets and the things that you have reconfigured. Right, you release that. And I'm not saying you got rid of anger completely, right? I just want to make that kind of clear for all of our listeners. We never say we can help someone say get rid of all the anger and all negative emotions. What we want to do is help remove unresolved, unwarranted, inappropriate, unresolved negative emotions from the past, so you can reconfigure new programs in the future for yourself. How has that lesson for you been able to help you be a better father and a better husband now with your family?
Oh man, the big thing for me was patience. Right, when you have three boys, ages 4, 9, and 12 in the house, patience at time could be challenging. Um, to learn to be able to have patience with my children, but not only that, what I really learned through Upgrade is helping my kids, not by so much being a parent and being a dad, but being a coach. Very similar to the way you and William are to everybody that's part of Upgrade. It's actually being able to coach my kids through difficult situations and being able to see things through their lens, not just through the lens of a parent. And I'm actually working on them with some things too. I have my 9-year-old telling me exactly what he wants to do now, having him create something. He's loves football, plays tackle football. He's a pretty athletic kid, and I want to give him an experience. So I took him to the Florida Georgia game last weekend to see what it would be like
Mm.
to see a big time college game. And while I'm sitting next to him, I said, Dean, just imagine you running out of that tunnel. Just imagine you being on the field and 79,000 people cheering you on. And I kept, during the game, I kept talking to him about it, talking to him about it, talking to him about it. My son wants to get really, really good grades. My 12-year-old wants to get really good grades in school, potentially go to an Ivy League school. So every night I call it out to him, talking about in the future. I'm thankful that I went to an Ivy League school. I'm thankful that I got 95 or higher in every class for the rest of the year. So I have them before bed now, calling out things that have already happened to them in the future. So I'm doing slight work that I learned to Upgrade with my kids, and my wife is totally on board with it. She loves what I'm doing with them. It's just I'm taking the coaching and trying bringing it down so they can understand it. And now, if they go to bed and I didn't ask them to do it, they said, Dad, we're not done with bedtime yet, which is the coolest thing. We do three things we're thankful for that happened in that present day, and two things we're thankful for that happened in the future. And the two things that thankful for that happened in the future are things that they created, not that I created. It's what they want. And we're calling it forward. Now it gives me a lane to tie back to when I'm parenting them. Does that line up with you wanting to play college football? Does that line up with you wanting to go to an Ivy League school? So I have a baseline now of when I see things, it's a question doesn't line up, and they stop and think. They stop and think, you know what, that didn't line up. It's the coolest experience. I actually enjoy it so much because it's coaching, not parenting.
Yeah, I can tell by the smile on your face and the way that you just described talking to your sons and installing these new skill sets, right? Because if we're going to talk about passing anything down to our children, skill sets, mindset, values really should be at the top. It's not like passing around generational wealth. Like that's cool, but you could look at the Vanderbilts versus the Rockefellers, for example, of both were very wealthy back in the 1900s, Rockefellers passed down generational skill sets and mindsets. And that's why they still have that legacy wealth. I think that's what you're starting to create now with your family, is that the power to create within the mind, and you're teaching them new skills because, hey, Upgrade came up with some very cool skill sets and programming. You're making them for your own, right? And you're creating within your own family and how they're going to be able to recreate them going forward. And I mean, heck,
It's
that's the stuff that
there's
gets me
nothing
giddy.
cuter than my 4 year old. Every morning he's having breakfast. He does what we call our I ams, and he's got 4 affirmations that he does before he goes to school and before he goes to bed. At 4 years old, I'm just trying to instill little things that I've learned. It is the cutest thing when you have a 4 year old doing his affirmation, which in our house we call our I ams. It is the coolest
Mm,
thing to see. Coolest thing to see.
I love that, man. Especially when they're that young too. It's like, imagine compounding interest on that type of behavior over the next 10 to 20 years for him. When he's 24 years old, what's he going to be like then?
Yep. And I just told my wife it's my role with all the work that I put in to teach them everything that they're not going to learn in school. And that's all the work that you guys are doing.
Love that. Well, it's been a fantastic time. I appreciate you sharing with our community. I guess if there's anything, a last question, if there's people out there, if they're curious about Upgrade, if maybe they're in a similar situation that you were in about 15 months ago, what would you say to them about Upgrade and, just overall big picture? So,
Overall, big picture is, for anybody who might be second guessing what's possible and is, manifestation, let's call it, or creating anything that you may want in your life, it is real. And with the right intentions, the right desire, and putting in work and, listening to the coaching and putting in the time, if you follow the Upgrade platform, you can create whatever you want, anything you want.
love that. Well, you're definitely an example, man, and we need to see you out in Scottsdale again soon because it's been a while.
That's
I
the
think it's
intent,
been
my
almost
friend.
like 6 or 7 months since we've seen each other.
That's the intent.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time today, Richard.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate everything, my man.
All right. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.